a few years ago there was a mine disaster in Pennsylvania, I think, and there were miners in a mine for several days. Remember that? They almost died. And a friend of mine called me very early in the morning. I was still asleep, and I get up early. She said, "Get up, turn on the TV. The miners have been rescued." I said, "I'm going to start to cry." She said, "The miners have been rescued, and they're coming up in the elevators, one at a time." See, I get all loose pimples if I'm telling you that. And you saw miners coming up, all, you know, coal dust and wet, and there are people embracing them. And I'm starting to cry, and it's years later. And I did then, and the reason they're on TV and people all over the country look and they cry because it's not their miner, but they know how that person must feel that their person came back. We are very tender, most of us, when we're not self-absorbed. Jeff said this earlier. When we're not self-absorbed, our hearts are available for other people, and we're on the lookout for them. I think we feel the best when we're in connection with other people and feeling that we somehow are making a difference for the good in their life, that they will feel better because of us. I think we're naturally compassionate animals. I look out sometimes, I was looking at a big group of people meditating sometime not long ago at Spirit Rock, and it was in the middle of a long retreat, and we give the same instructions as we did here about keeping your own counsel and not being involved with other people, let everybody have their space. And I opened my eyes because I heard that somebody was crying. And I opened my eyes, and in the back of the room there was somebody weeping. And that happens sometimes. It's 70 or 80 people there, and it's a long time, and your whole life reviews itself. And somebody was crying, and everybody's sitting. And I saw that the person next to her put out her arm and went like this. And then put it back. Didn't even look over. Just put her arm out and went like that. And did this. I think that's what human beings are moved to do, that naturally the urge to console comes up in us. If we are not frightened or preoccupied, I think it's our nature. And I think it's also, at least in my nature, to have a very labile emotional system. It's so easy to become irritated. I was sitting one morning on the chair where I sit in the morning is right by a window, and outside the window there's an oak tree, not 3 feet from the window, and a crook in the oak tree. It branches out just about at eye level, and I'm sitting in my chair in the morning, and after I've been sitting for a while, I open my eyes, end of the meditation, and hanging in the crook of this tree, so that all I can see is the hindquarters, is the hindquarters of a squirrel. And it's hanging with its hindquarters hanging over this crook. The front is apparently on the other side. And its legs are splayed out, and its tail is straight down. And I thought, squirrel died in my tree. So first of all, you have a terrible feeling the squirrel died, and I felt bad about it. Say, squirrel, get up, get up. Nothing happens. Knock, knock, knock. So then I felt very bad about the squirrel had died. Then I thought to myself, how am I going to get that squirrel down out of the tree? I don't want to have it hanging there the whole day. That's nice. I thought I'm going to have to go out and get a ladder and go out and get the squirrel. And then I started to feel bad for myself because I didn't have to do that. And I started to think, where's the ladder? And just at that point, the squirrel leaped up. So I was so joyous that the squirrel was alive. And it ran out the length of this oak tree branch. I was just so excited to see it's alive. And it jumped down into my squirrel-proof bird feeder and started to eat the bird seed. And I got so mad. And I was banging on the window, get out of the bird feeder. And, I realized that I had gone through the whole gamut of human emotions in less than 2 minutes. I'm actually even, I'm a kind person. If someone said squirrels are coming, I would have put out squirrel food, but I put out bird food, and it wasn't what I expected. I wanted birds, not squirrels. So the mind is completely out of control. So at the same time that we reach out and console, we have tremendously labile nervous systems, and this is what we're going to go and love universally with. It's a very hard job. It is hard. The other thing that I want to say is not only are we easily irritated, but we're easily seduced. The numbers of ads that flash by in a day, do this, buy that, vote this, get the other thing, that you didn't think you needed 1 second before, and the catalog comes in the mail, and you say, I don't need anything from this. Well, I'll just open it. Ah, look what I need. So we're easily seduced into stuff. To be able to have the idea, stop and think. What are we doing with ourselves? I tell you that easy, really, sweet story about the squirrel that wasn't dead, but I think about the ways that passions are easily caused to erupt and wars happen. Because we don't think it over enough. People go into terrible debt because they don't think it over enough. We make a fight with somebody and we don't make up for 5 years because we didn't think it over enough. I'm thinking about the practice of mindfulness as thinking it over a little bit. I think about it as moment to moment thinking it over, because mindfulness, the definition of mindfulness, is more than a balanced acknowledgement of what's happening. It's a balanced acknowledgement of what's happening that has room in it for an awareness of what would be a good response in this moment, what will be a wise response that'll be good for me and everybody else. And it has energy enough in it to really manifest that wise response. I thought I'd read you some poetry today. I was inspired by Norman reading poetry the other day. This is a poem that I mostly carry with me on my person all the time. Because when I go places to teach, I wait till I get there to see who's there and think about what I'm going to teach. But I mostly always want to read this poem. It's a poem by Pablo Neruda. It's called Keeping Quiet. And now we will all count to 12, and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt the sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves to death. Perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count up to 12, and you keep quiet, and I will go. I keep reading that over and over. And maybe it's the line, fishermen would look at their hurt hands. The man gathering salt would look at their hurt hands. There's something about mindfulness. It's sometimes translated as insight, sometimes as seeing clearly,